Imagine this, a pregnant cat, clearly in her final weeks, trudging across a vast, snow-covered field, as if searching for a scrap of warmth. The frigid wind mercilessly cuts through the air, biting her exposed skin. Her once glossy fur is now a mass of tangled knots, and each step is a Herculean effort. Her legs buckle treacherously, and her breath is barely perceptible. This cat, once full of vitality, slips and slides on the pristine white surface as snowflakes swirl around her in a relentless torrent. As if to mock her, a luxury car suddenly pulls up nearby, its sleek lines an even sharper contrast against the stark, white silence. A distinguished-looking man in an expensive overcoat steps out. He doesn't notice her suffering gaze, doesn't pause, as if she were invisible. His luxurious fur coat shields him perfectly from the cold, and he disappears as quickly as he arrived, leaving the cat alone with the brutal cold. The moment the engine of the purring beast on wheels roars to life, whisking the man away, the poor creature is left surrounded by endless wind and an icy landscape. With each step, the pregnant cat, once called Gladys, but known as Smokey to her friends, she had two names, and no one can say which was the real one anymore, slows down. She sinks deeper and deeper into the deep snow, as if drowning in a white abyss. It seems the whole world is telling her to give up. Her paws tremble with strain, and her muscles scream in protest. But her maternal instinct pushes her forward. For the sake of the kittens she carries within her, she can't stop, not even for a moment. The cold intensifies, escalating from stinging to unbearable. The biting wind feels like 1,000 tiny needles piercing her skin. Her eyes, filled with fear, stare into the emptiness, no shelter, no hint of comfort. Only one thought keeps her from collapsing: I have to keep going for my babies. She stumbles but, overcoming the pain, continues on her way. At the same time, inside the warm cabin of the car, the wealthy man, who once seemed untouchable by the hardships of winter, enjoys all the comforts of civilization. He insulates himself from the harsh reality: leather seats, climate control, soft music, all the conveniences of the modern world pitted against the bleak fragility of life in the cold. Though the cat's and the millionaire's paths intersect, he doesn't notice her, and she remains trapped in the snow, under the merciless assault of the elements. The contrast between the elite's comforts and the pregnant cat's desperate struggle could not be starker. The rich man feels completely protected, while she faces the choice of surrendering to the cold or continuing on to protect her unborn kittens. As the storm intensifies, her paws grow weaker, and the air seems thick with hopelessness. The cat stumbles, leaving faint bloody tracks in the snow. The pads of her paws are torn, and the cold gnaws at them without mercy. She can barely stay on her feet, repeatedly falling into the loose snow, which only gets deeper. Somewhere in the distance, she catches a faint sound, perhaps a car, perhaps just the wind, but there's no hope. No one is rushing to offer a helping hand. And then, just when it seems her strength has completely failed, a human figure begins to emerge from the snowy haze. A man, bundled up in warm clothing, is walking straight towards her. Seeing the cat, he's visibly alarmed. Her silhouette is barely upright, her breathing is ragged, and her fur is matted with ice. He understands that this is a matter of life and death. Carefully kneeling, the man feels her cold, trembling body and immediately pulls out his phone, calling for help. Noticing a leather collar, the man realizes that the cat isn't just a stray, she clearly belonged to wealthy people. The quality of the material and the crisp engraving on the collar suggest she once lived in warmth and love. But now she's been abandoned to fate, effectively condemned. Realizing the full tragedy of her situation, the man acts quickly, taking off his warm overcoat and wrapping it around Gladys, trying to give her at least a little warmth. He picks up the cat. She barely resists, only weakly pressing against her rescuer, as if understanding that this is her only chance for survival. Snow falls in clumps, the wind howls, but the man stubbornly walks forward, covering the distance to the nearest shelter. Only one thought pounds in his mind: gotta make it while she's still breathing. Reaching a small cabin, he knocks insistently on the door. A woman with kind eyes appears on the porch, ready to help. Gladys is placed by the fireplace. Warmth begins to slowly push back the chilling despair. The woman notices the cat's rounded belly and realizes that the birth is imminent. From there, events unfold rapidly. Gladys, or Smokey, the name remains a mystery, begins to breathe heavily, and soon the first kitten arrives, mewing softly and plaintively. Seeing this miracle of life, the woman acts carefully and confidently, helping the exhausted mother. When the entire litter has arrived, the cat lets out a deep sigh of relief. Finally, she can relax, knowing that her babies are safe, and the warmly glowing fire is protecting them from the wind outside. Meanwhile, back in the big city, news of the cat's rescue begins to spread. The internet is flooded with photos of the exhausted cat in the snow-covered field, and people are outraged by the cruelty of whoever dared to abandon the animal in the bitter cold. Learning that a very wealthy person was involved in the abandonment, social media users are enraged. No one can understand how someone with such wealth could allow something like this to happen. The millionaire, whose reputation had once seemed impeccable, suddenly finds himself under the weight of public outrage. His luxurious position doesn't save him. The wave of criticism rises higher and higher. Animal rights organizations file lawsuits, demanding that the guilty party be punished. Money can't silence the pain and consequences of cruelty. No amount of money can buy back the moment when someone turned away from a helpless creature. Alone with his thoughts, the wealthy man feels the heavy burden of guilt for the first time in his life. He realizes that no amount of money can restore the lost trust, much less heal the deep trauma the cat endured. The press literally explodes with details of the story, where the luxurious car contrasts with the helpless pregnant cat. And meanwhile, new life continues to blossom. Gladys gently curls her tail around her newborn kittens. She feels the pain in her body, but she feels even more relief. Now she's warm and safe. The woman who took her and helps her recover, and the man who rescued her from the field tries to provide the necessary care, from medical attention to nutritious food. In this simple home, an incredible atmosphere of love and compassion prevails. Purring softly, Gladys nurses her fluffy babies. Her eyes, full of gratitude, say everything without words. She understands that there were people who decided to fight for her life and gave her a second chance. The public, learning of the ending of the story, is moved to tears. The cat, who could have died alone in the freezing wind, has now found not only survival but a real family. Her incredible endurance, tenacity, and maternal instinct have made her a symbol of hope, a spark of light that reminds us that even in the most hopeless situations, a path to salvation can be found. While the millionaire goes through the courts and realizes that his wealth doesn't absolve him of moral responsibility, Gladys raises her kittens. The story, which once raged with blizzard, despair, and pain, turns into a triumph of kindness and compassion. And although the wounds of the past don't heal immediately, new life continues to flourish. This story of the rescue and perseverance of a pregnant cat is a powerful reminder for each of us. No amount of wealth can justify cruelty, and compassion knows no bounds. Every step towards kindness can change the world, even if it's just for one animal. How important it is not to pass by those who are weaker. A helping hand extended can save a life. Your support can also change everything. Help shelters, volunteer, share rescue stories so that other people understand how important it is to care for the defenseless. Love, compassion, and a willingness to help are the three pillars on which true humanity rests. And remember, even if the cold freezes the world outside, there should always be a place in our hearts for warm feelings towards those who need us. In 2025 and in all the years to come, we must remember, every living creature deserves protection and love. And may it be that in this world, full of hustle and bustle and sometimes heartless attitudes towards others, every kind spark gives someone a chance for salvation. Let's multiply those sparks, for the sake of our common belief that humanity is still alive, and every pregnant cat in a cold can find a hand ready to caress and save her.